Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow. Welcome to Paranormal Yakker. My guest on today's show is Elena Danaan. I'll be yakking with Elena about her book, an Amazon bestseller, A Gift from the Stars, Extraterrestrial Contacts and Guide of Alien Races. Elena Danaan, welcome to Paranormal Yakker.
Thank you for having me, Stan.
Your book, Elena, is the true story of an abduction and a rescue by benevolent extraterrestrials, various direct contacts you had throughout the years with UFOs and visitors from other worlds. Do you recall the first time you were contacted by alien beings, how it came about, and how did you react to that experience?
Scared. I was a toddler and I was in my crib and my grandmother was reading a story to me for bedtime. A gray alien appeared behind her through the wall. It freaked me out. It was a small gray. I couldn't stop screaming. So the first reaction is panic, terror. And then I was taken during the night physically throughout an anti-gravity beam into a spaceship. What I could experience, what blew me away is not much the fact to be levitated upwards, but to pass through the roof of the building. I couldn't understand how that would be possible. But in fact, I learned afterwards that the beam was shifting density to pass through the different layers of the buildings. That was quite interesting. And I was on board a ship with nice small grays. They weren't the articuli, scary ones. They were ebon and they were working for the Council of Five, which is a very positive group of extraterrestrials who take care of children with a special mission, So I was checked out by a tall being. The name of his race is Agaroth, checking me out, filled with love and nice. And just they did nothing to me than scanning my chest with a kind of a pen with a red glue, just bringing me out. The bringing back was quite scary because I was paralyzed as I was beamed. When you're in this beam, you are paralyzed, you're numbed and you can't really move. That was the sensation that scared me again. My body came into my bed. When I touched the surface of the bed, I was paralyzed and this contact just freaked me out. But it stayed for a few minutes.
In A Gift from the Stars, you include an illustrated descriptive of 110 different alien races involved with our planet. Were the objectives of these various alien races who visit us the same, or did they have different agendas?
They have indeed different agendas. There are many different groups of extraterrestrials. The ones who were shown to me were the ones interacting at the moment with the story of Earth, our history at the moment. 110 races belonging to different groups. So you have the Galactic Federation of Worlds, which are called the Galactic Federation, which is a positive federation of different cultures of this galaxy. There are a tremendous lot, and they're taking care of the balance in the galaxy. They're kind of a military organization also in their actions. These ones, you have also the Reptilian Empire, the Seekers. These ones are conquerors. They're not very nice. And they are on Earth since many thousands of years. And the Greys, the Orion Greys, these ones are really, really bad. They are really the plague of this galaxy. And these ones have signed agreements with some governments on Earth in the 1950s. And you have also the positive groups, the Andromedia Council. You have the Council of Five, which is five very wise races from Orion. They were standing against the Orion Grey Collective. So these ones, and that's the main groups. And then you have a little bit of different things.
Being abducted by hostile alien beings, which you were, Elena,
Yes.
had to be a harrowing experience. What were the circumstances surrounding that abduction, and how did the benevolent extraterrestrials who rescued you execute that rescue?
Being abducted by negative extraterrestrials is a horrible experience. To me, I'm a psychic. I have been used to see ghosts since my young age. I've seen demons, I've seen high beings, I've seen everything. But that's blowing the boundary of fear. It's like, because of the harm that is done to you. And when you're a child, I tell all the parents, monsters are real. And when you have your kids telling there's a monster in the bedroom, just pretend you know and just fight it, to reassure the child. That's something parents need to do. Denying it, it's just closing the kids in his loneliness, dealing with it. It's right. I was abducted at the age of 9 by small greys. These ones were from Zeta Reticuli. They are enslaved to the Orion Grey collective, who are all tall greys. So these small Zeta Reticuli greys abducted me age 9 in the agenda of hybridization. They do that a lot. They prepare kids to a hormonal cycle to be able to receive their eggs and matrices to hybridization. So it started at a very young age, just before puberty. So I was 9.5 years old. They did all kinds of miseries to me on their shape, which I detail in my book with drawings. I was rescued in the process because there are crews from the Galactic Federation who spent decades to rescue as much people as they could. I was one of the lucky kids. They beamed, they teleported. 2 men teleported into this gray ship. They teleported in a room next to the one where I was lying down with all the instruments and greys around. And I heard shouting, I heard small explosions, and then the door blew in dust. There was some dust in suspension in the air. It was already difficult to breathe because the air was thinner and very, very cold. The dust and the explosion and the blast and the rush, already I was terrified and paralyzed, of course. But then that on the top of it was just, oh my God, what's happening? So these small greys, there were 4 synthetics and 1 biologic entity. The biologic entity was leading the synthetics. They're like androids. Synthetics were all shot. They had, these 2 men were in suit, in white, silvery, mostly white space suit, quite tied to the body with helmets. And so I couldn't see their faces with all the reflections of dust. And they had a pen, big pen, and it was like laser shot. I'm sure it wasn't laser, it was something else, but it was like beams, something. They shot the entities, the synthetic entities. The biological captain, I suppose, Grey, he had a special treatment. One of the guys strangled him to death. These people, they see so many horrors, so many kids being tortured. When they can just strangle one of these Greys, they do it with pleasure. And we must not idolize these beings these were Nordic type beings from the Federation, like gurus or spiritual masters. They're not. They're people like us. They're just from another culture, another technology, but are people like us with emotions. I promise, when you see kids being tortured and you have to save kids or older people from the hands of these horrible Greys, well, I mean, sometimes it's good to just squish one. And then they teleported me and they took me. They untied my wristbands and my ankles, and they took me in their ship, teleported me. Once there were other Nordic beings there, but I could see differences, physiological differences. So they were from different cultures. They took care of me. They cleansed my blood. They healed me. They brought me back. And I kept contact with them until now.
Alliances have been made in this galaxy with various governments on our planet and governments from other planets. Could you expand a bit on those alliances?
There are 2 groups we're interested in, the Reptilians and the Greys. These 2 are competitors. I mean, the Reptilian Empire, the Sicars from the constellation of Draconis, this zone, and the Orion Grey collective, the Nebu. These 2 are competitors. I'm talking only about the Reptilians from the Draconis constellation and only about the Greys of the Orion constellation and friends. Not all Reptilians are regressive, not all Greys are regressive. We need to keep that in mind. The Reptilians, the Sicars, were there since a very long time, millenniums here, but they were keeping it quiet, living underground, manipulating royal bloodlines, governments, and things in between. Behind. They were doing their stuff. But then in the 1940s, the Orion Greys decided, we're going to get these guys too. We're having Earth. We're going to have that too. Their tactic is to enslave worlds, to grow their power and their effectives and enslave whole populations for different reasons, to build more armies, to have more workforce and trading material for different reasons. They saw that in the 1940s It was 1940s on Earth. At that time, the Andromedan Council, who saw that, said to the Galactic Federation, hey guys, we don't have the military power to intervene. We can't do that ourselves, but you can. Could you please go and check what's going to happen there? Because that's serious. The Greys just are on their way to Earth. So Galactic Federation arrived. You know, these people, they can jump in time and see timelines and play. It's temporal war as well. So they knew that the Greys would make contact in 1955. So in 1954, the Galactic Federation of Worlds sent a delegation who met President Dwight Eisenhower and his administration, his secret administration. You know, since the Roswell crash, which was a Trojan horse, a probe from the Nebu, the Greys, the Greys had started to put a bit some pawns in advance, you know. Roswell was a Trojan horse, and just after Roswell was created the CIA and the MJ-12. In 1954, who was on this airbase meeting with the Galactic Federation, Eisenhower, but the MJ-12 was there too. Eisenhower wanted to go with the Federation. The Federation, here's what they said to him. They said, in a year time, some Greys are going to come and offer you a deal. Do not accept this deal. You still have the free will, but we recommend you highly not to, because that's what they do, blah, blah, blah. They're going to trick you. We want something in exchange, and you'll be doomed. So don't. What we can offer you something in exchange that is equivalent. It's technology to build your own, develop your own technology, your protection technology, medical technology, and disarmament of all your weapons, nuclear weapons. Well, Eisenhower said, yeah, I'd go for that, because Eisenhower was already not for nuclear development already. You know, he was a war general. He knew very well all about this. He wasn't just a politician, civilian. He won a war. In 1955, I go back to 1954, agreements were signed there by Eisenhower with the Galactic Federation. That started a program of collaboration, scientific program of collaboration with the US Navy and the Pentagon. That's why we have Val Thor coming in 1957 at the Pentagon to really set these programs, really give a good kick to pass a gear. So that's one thing. Then 1955, as announced, the Greys, the Nebu arrived, but they were not on their own. They had already passed agreements with the Reptilians, because territorial agreements, you know, Reptilians were there before, so commercial in interest business agreements between two competitors. The thing is, the Reptilians on Earth, they were already also in agreement with a human group who was the breakaway Nazi civilization in Antarctica. They had helped the Nazis very badly. In 1955, we have a delegation of, there were also many ships, Greys, Antarctica Nazis, and Reptilians. Eisenhower said no. He was very disturbed. He said, no, I'm not signing anything with you. The thing is, he got kind of an agreement with the Nazis of non-attack, you know, like peace, like we're not bothering each other. We may even exchange scientists between us, try to be grown-up adults on that one. That was the thing is, that was it. The MJ-12 behind Eisenhower's back and the CIA signed with the Nebu Grey. Eisenhower never okayed that. He wasn't even there when they did it. And these agreements were stored in Area 51 in the S4 facility. Eisenhower tried to storm Area 51 to get this document back. He never managed. He could, and he left bitter. And before he left his presidency mandate, he said he gave a big warning against the MIC and the MJ-12. That's what happened. And what was in these agreements with the Greys? We're giving you war technology to improve your war, great. And in exchange, they want something in exchange. So they did it like they do on every world. Our planet is dying. Our race needs genetic material. We would just need to borrow a few abductees here and there. Just not 100. It's all right, you know, just to take genetic material to renew our genome. Of course, there are Los Alamos prisoners and few mental hospital who provide these abductees will be returned without any sequels from it. Great. And we also want facilities underground, under your military bases. You don't mind our business. We don't mind your business. Sign here. They signed. The thing is, it went over the top very quickly. The militaries were like, oh, damn it. The abductees, it's been since like millions and millions and millions of people for different reasons. They couldn't kick them. How do you want to kick them out? You know, we we can't do that. So the Galactic Federation took care of this. So there is these two things that have been going on. The deep state, MJ12, MIC, gray aliens underground, and the Galactic Federation, Solar Warden, US Navy. Well, that's what has been going on until now.
Since you have had direct contact over the years with UFOs and visitors from other worlds, I was wondering, Elena, if any of those interactions stood out more than the others.
Yes, of course, the positive ones, of course, because once I was rescued, I never had any interaction anymore with regressive extraterrestrials because I was protected. I have kept two main interactions with the Egaroth being who has been taking care of me and my bloodline from the Council of Five, some of these Nordic aliens from the Federation. So there were two of them. Thoran is from the Pleiades and Myra, she's from the Sirius B system. They have been in contact with me all these years. Sometimes there were gaps where they had to go and do something else elsewhere. That's my primary contact.
Your book includes a map of the sky with locations of alien life. Have any government agencies contacted you to find out how you acquired it? And have they tried to silence or discredit you for revealing what I would imagine could be considered highly classified information?
Yes, I've received many threats. I have, and I'm still discredited a lot. And all the people who try to highly discredit me in a very obsessive way are part of the, the counterintelligence at the moment. I have never been officially contacted, but I received emails sometimes from the US Air Force, sometimes from unknown people telling me now, you are at the level of the highest classification levels. You may be in trouble. Be careful what you speak, be careful, like trying to scare me. I've been attacked many times by beams, sometimes heart attack beams. That's typical from the CIA, and the Dark Fleet does that as well. It was countered because I'm very well protected, but it's quite scary. Greys beaming down in my room and being straight away disintegrated. Computer hacked. This map was given to me, I think I was 14. I was beamed into the scout ship of my Nordic friends. I say Nordics, then everybody understand. It was like cool and fun, and you want to try the co-pilot seat? Sit there, and oh look, that's a holographic map of the galaxy. Wow! The atmosphere changed. Thoran said, "You want me to show you where all the different races live?" Yes, please. So there was this table with this kind of dome. It was a holographic dome with the galaxy in like 3D inside. And he was showing me all the little dots that by his consciousness, the dots were lighting up. And the thing is, my consciousness recorded it. I don't know how. It imprinted in my head. When I came back, there's always time lapse where I can remember. It lasts like half an hour. And then afterwards, I cannot. So I always recall myself talking or write. And that time I was interested in astronomy at the time, of course, all these things happening to me. And I had a paper map, foldable, of the astrology constellation and like a sky map. I took stickers and I stick the stickers everywhere on all the stars I'd seen. And quick. And suddenly, I can't remember what are all these stickers on it. And then, okay, oh my God, yes, I remember I was in the ship and blah, blah. This map, I had kept it. It scared me a bit, kept it secret, and I hid it somewhere and I lost it. When I had my hypnosis session in 2019 to remember my night of abduction by the Greys at the age of 9, the only thing that was blank was just that missing. I decided to write a book about it. And as I was in the process of writing the book, Gift from the Stars, I received a parcel from my mother in France saying, "Oh, I was going through some cleanup in the house and I found this, I think it belongs to you." It was a map.
What advice would you give to anyone who finds themselves in the terrible situation you once found yourself in, that is, being abducted without their consent by hostile alien beings?
There are two types of abductions. Is the abduction during your sleep and you don't realize you're abducted. You sometimes remember never, or under hypnosis, or in the morning, and you have a bad feeling about it. There's nothing really you can do about it while it's happening. But before going to bed every night, if you suspect you are abducted, you recite out loud, "I do not give my consent to be abducted. You have no right. No one has the right to abduct me without my consent. I'm a free individual of beings, and no agreements have been made on my behalf for me to be abducted. I want to add something.
Sure,
when
sure.
When you're conscious and they beam into your room, say the same thing. Stand up. They're going to use fear, because fear is consent. So tame your fear. Stand up to them. I know they're scary. They're really weird and scary. You say, I do not consent, blah, blah, blah. Get out of my house and do not come back ever. They leave because they have no right. They make you believe they do, but in fact, they don't. They never come back. I have many returns of people writing back to me. They never came back.
You graduated in fine arts in Paris, completed a postgrad in archaeology at the Louvre University, completed studies in druidry, shamanism, energy, and sound healing, and work as a spiritual practitioner. Do you think your encounters with alien beings contributed in some way to the path you have traveled in life?
That's a great question. I think it just triggered to me the mystery that, there are different realms of existence and life, but I think it was something different. It's a parallel path. It's a path of life. I have a path of life, and then aliens happen. I see it like this. I was always a spiritual kid, psychic abilities. I'm from a line of shamans. I have abilities. It was natural path to be drawn to mysteries and, shamanism and druidry and all the things. Aliens, that comes on the top of it. I think it's something that went on it.
A Gift from the Stars contains inspiring messages of hope and humanity. Looking at the state of the world today, there is a definite need for those messages to be heard. Could you share one of them with my audience?
We cannot liberate a slave who holds on to his chain. This means, this message was given to me actually by Valthor. This is about standing up for yourself, help yourself, and then, they can help you. There's also a message of Thoran said to me one day, we would not be here, the whole Galactic Federation, the whole council, people dying in this war and investing so much, being so far away from their homes and their beloved families. We wouldn't be here sacrificing ourselves, doing ourselves, all of this, if we believed there wasn't a chance.
Should viewers of Paranormal Yacker want to buy A Gift from the Stars or any of your other wonderful books, learn about your workshops, services, artwork, and other endeavors you are involved with, what is your contact information?
You can find all of this centered on my website, elenadanaan.org.
Elena Danaan, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yacker. I wish you continued success with all your undertakings.
Thank you, Stan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. To be sure you don't miss any interviews on my free YouTube channel, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.